Let's bring in someone who knows about war and the cost and the challenges of war, Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Congressman, you're a straight shooter, which is why I like you. I'm going to ask you, could this have been avoided or deterred?
Sure. Look, and thanks for having me, Trey. There are two things that stop war: the credible threat of force and leverage. So the credible threat of force is pretty straightforward. I recall in 2017, reportedly, Trump said to Putin, if you move in on Ukraine, we're bombing Moscow. That's a pretty clear, credible threat of force. Leverage is more complicated. And in this case, leverage is defined by the energy markets. So for years, the Europeans, the United States, we've been so unsure of ourselves. We've wanted to keep fossil fuels in the ground. We haven't let our potential really run free. And Russia's potential has continued to increase. And as prices have increased, they've been able to put a lot of money back in the bank. And they felt that this was the moment where they could basically afford to do this. I'm not even sure I should say they anymore. Putin seems very isolated in this. This seems to be his little game. And I think they're going to regret it in the long run. But those are the two things that needed to be done to deter this. Also, much better lethal aid for Ukraine over the last decade would have really helped a lot here. Our European partners stepping up in a much bigger way over the last decade or two would have been a big help here. They need to spend more on their defense. They cannot keep relying on the U.S. to be their battle axe in all situations. This has to stop. I'm happy to see Germany just announce that they're going to be spending at least 2% GDP. Hey, why not go for 3%? You know, they have to realize that we're back in the 20th century, where authoritarians are invading neighboring countries, sovereign territories. This has to be unacceptable. It's the entire point of NATO. And if we don't stand strong here, then we never will. And China and Russia know that.
Congressman, you have spent a good portion of your life in service and sacrifice to our country. What should the rest of us be prepared to endure if we're going to impose sanctions, and those sanctions may actually impact us and make our lives more challenging? What's a realistic thing for us to expect as we try to punish Russia?
It's a good question, and it's a complex one. I mean, the short answer is higher prices. What we should be demanding of our government is this: stop attacking our fossil fuel industry. Look, let me give you an example. The Department of Energy could approve about 6 permits right now that would allow 6 different LNG export terminals to expand their capacity. We could quickly start to overtake Russia's dominance in this. Well, they don't really have. We have the dominance. We could start to overtake their market share globally, which would reduce their leverage substantially and increase Europe's leverage right now. They're the ones who are really going to bear the cost of this if they don't step up. We can roll back NEPA regulations as the Biden administration has proposed. We can do a lot to signal to the industry that, look, it's time to go. For the next 100 years, we need oil, gas, and nuclear. It's time to go. Let's stop messing around. Let's stop having these silly arguments. Energy is where it's at. And if we have global energy dominance, we will have the leverage that we need to prevent these kinds of things in the future.
Congressman, I'm going to let you go with this question, and I like to ask soldiers this question, and I've asked you this before, but you're a thoughtful guy. You're the commander-in-chief, and you may be one day. You're the commander-in-chief. When is it worth U.S. troops being actively involved in someone else's war?
Look, we have NATO for a reason. Right now, I don't think anyone is saying, even though there's a lot of people claiming that Republicans or Democrats are claiming we should send troops to Ukraine right now. No one's saying that. Can we say that publicly for the record? No one is saying that. So, and I don't believe we should at this moment. I think that we should double down on lethal aid, and I think that we should ask European partners to seriously step up. It's their neighborhood, and Russia's going to be on their doorstep. So that should be our thought process. But if they do go into NATO territory, and if Article 5 is triggered, well, by treaty, we are at war. Everyone should understand that. That's a fact. It's not even something that we would then vote on in Congress. It is by treaty. We've already ratified this treaty. And if we all of a sudden don't believe that, then what the heck is NATO for? NATO was built for this reason, to stop Russia from invading countries, to stop this 20th century, this old pattern of human history where neighboring countries are invading each other just for the sake of more power. That's what NATO is meant to deter. It's created stability. And if we don't believe in that stability anymore, then there will be costs far greater than people realize. And so we need to stand strong with our NATO allies and to our NATO commitments.
Congressman Dan Crenshaw, thoughtful and clear as ever. Thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.